I'm Elizabeth Chu, Executive Vice President and Chief Curator at James Madison's Montpelier. And I'm going to talk about how we knew how to recreate this art collection in the South Passage at Montpelier. So after the death of Dolly Madison, and then shortly after that, her son John Payne Todd, the painting collection was dispersed and everything was sold away and went away. So today, we actually only own 3 of the original paintings that hung here at the time that the Madisons were here. When we were finishing the furnishing of the house a couple of years ago, we decided that we really wanted to suggest to visitors how the space would have looked when it was full of works of European art, that most of which John Payne Todd had acquired during his travels in Europe. Now, we obviously didn't have any of the originals, but we fortunately did have an inventory made in 1844. Now, art historians are trained to know certain things, to have certain understandings of what was popular, what was being painted, what was being commissioned by patrons, what was being sold on the art market, what had existed in the 17th century. And the inventory was extremely handy because what it let us know is that this collection contained very typical range of subject matter for an art collection, really from in a private home, really from the 17th century through into the 19th century. A range of things from biblical stories like the Christ being taken down from the cross, called the deposition, the expulsion of Adam and Eve from paradise, the Annunciation of the Virgin, the crucifixion, and many other Bible stories. It also contained mythological subject matter here. One example is Proserpina carried off by Pluto. And then a number of works were landscapes. Landscape painting became particularly popular in the Netherlands in the 17th century, which is the same time period that the art market as we know it today came into existence. And then there were works of art with titles like card players, blacksmiths, persons drinking. These subjects are make up what's known as genre painting, which basically just refers to scenes of everyday life in whatever time period you happen to be in. And then of course things like a fish piece, a flower piece, and that refers to what we would call still life, or pictures of dead fish in a kitchen getting ready to be prepared for cooking, or a beautiful vase of flowers, or a bowl of fruit, or even an image of dead game birds. Those were here. Those were also very fashionable from 17th century Netherlands really into the present day. So when we studied this inventory and began to think about works of art that we would acquire to put in the South Passage, we also studied what was available on the art market. Now, Payne Todd was not buying famous, expensive works of art by very well-known masters. He was buying what was available and affordable to him in the cities that he traveled through, like Antwerp, like Paris, like London. And so we were also sort of aiming at the same range of the market in the 20 teens that Payne Todd would have been doing in the 18 teens. So for example, when we read the topic of a work of art that just says card players, what that suggests is that would have been as I've been saying, a 17th century Dutch work of art of just ordinary people playing cards, likely in a tavern. So we acquired a 17th century Dutch painting of that subject matter. So we were able to take what we know about what was being produced and consumed by art collectors at any given time to match up with what was available on the art market to us just a few years ago in the mid-20 teens, and to create the kind of assemblage of paintings that Payne Todd would have brought home to his parents and that visitors to Montpelier would have been so impressed by.